In the green valleys of the Rhineland, where mist rises from the river like incense and the air hums with unseen music, a child was born who would one day make the world hear the voice of heaven. Her name was Hildegard, the 10th child of a noble family, frail in body but blazing in soul. Even as a little girl, she saw colors where others saw air, heard harmonies where others heard silence. She called them the living lights. They frightened her at first. Their brilliance was almost unbearable. But in time, she learned they were not madness. They were messages. "The light that I see," she would write, "is living, and it speaks." When she was 8, she was given to a Benedictine convent, a small stone enclosure near Disibodenberg. There she met Jutta, a holy woman who became her mentor, and in that cloister, the young girl's visions grew stronger. She would sit in the chapel, eyes half closed, and hear melodies that seemed to flow from beyond the walls. Notes not written on parchment, but in creation itself. The wind through cedars, the rhythm of the river, the heartbeat of stars. To her, all of it was one vast symphony singing the praise of the Creator. While others prayed in Latin, Hildegard prayed in sound. Decades passed. The girl became a woman cloistered in shadow yet filled with light. Her abbess died, and the sisters chose Hildegard to lead them. She accepted trembling, knowing that obedience to heaven often means defiance of men. Around that time, new visions flooded her. Great wheels of fire turning in the sky, figures of angels radiant with song, and a voice commanding her, "Write what you see." She hesitated. A woman writing theology in the 12th century was unthinkable. But the command was relentless. When she fell ill from resisting it, she surrendered. "I am a feather on the breath of God," she wrote, and began her great work, Scivias, Know the Ways. She described not abstractions, but living light, the cosmos as a burning sphere of divine music. Her words were fire and geometry at once, and soon her writings reached the Pope himself. Bernard of Clairvaux, the greatest voice of the age, recognized her authenticity and urged her to speak. Hildegard obeyed, and the silence of centuries broke. For the first time, a woman rose to address prelates and princes in the name of divine wisdom. She preached that creation itself is a song, that sin is the dissonance of that song, and that redemption is the return to harmony. "Every creature," she said, "is a word of God and a spark of His glory." Her words spread across Europe, carried by monks who copied her visions in gold and azure on parchment. But Hildegard was not content with words alone. She heard the music of heaven and sought to let others hear it too. She composed chants unlike any before them, soaring, otherworldly melodies that lifted the soul beyond Earth's gravity. When her sisters sang them in the candlelit chapel, travelers wept. The music seemed to come not from throats, but from light itself. At night, she would step outside the convent, gaze at the constellations, and whisper their names as if greeting old friends. To her, the stars were living notes in the eternal hymn of creation. She wrote of herbs and healing, of the secret fire within stones, of the breath of the elements. Because to her, medicine and theology were one. The care of the body was a way of tuning the soul. She became healer, poet, abbess, composer, and prophet, a constellation of gifts centered in obedience. Yet with all her knowledge, she remained humble, calling herself a poor, unlearned woman. She built a new monastery on the hill of Rupertsberg, a place flooded with sunlight, where she could teach her sisters to live as mirrors of divine harmony. Pilgrims came from distant lands seeking counsel. Kings wrote asking for prophecy. She answered in letters that combined lightning and tenderness. "The soul is a lyre," she told one ruler. "When it is tuned to God, the world hears his music through you." But Hildegard's obedience often led her into conflict. She denounced corruption among clergy and warned emperors of pride. Her words carried the weight of thunder because they were born in vision. "You are the shadow of God's justice," she told a bishop, "and shadows exist only because of light." In her later years, the Rhine Valley entered war. Fires burned monasteries and men's hearts alike. Yet inside Rupertsberg, the chant continued, slow, luminous, unbroken, as if heaven itself refused despair. The years grew heavier, yet her light only deepened. Hildegard was now old, her hands marked by time, her body frail like parchment. But her voice was still the sound of rivers. Each dawn she rose before the sun, wrapped in her black habit, her gaze fixed on the eastern window where light first touched the stone. "The dawn," she said, "is the daily resurrection." She wrote letters until her fingers bled, guiding abbots, consoling widows, admonishing kings. Her ink was prayer, her words instruments in God's orchestra. The Holy Roman Emperor Frederick Barbarossa demanded her silence after she condemned his arrogance. Yet she refused to kneel before power. "I speak not for myself," she wrote, "but for the living light." For this defiance, she was excommunicated, her community forbidden to receive the sacraments. The sisters wept, but Hildegard told them, "Do not fear. The church is not a prison. It is a melody that sometimes goes out of tune." Months later, the ban was lifted. Her obedience had never wavered. Her courage had never dimmed. In those final years, she completed her Symphonia Harmonia Callistium Revolutionum, the symphony of the harmony of celestial revelations. It was her last great offering. 77 songs that united heaven and earth. Each melody was born from vision, written in pneumes that rose and fell like waves of fire. She called them a breath of the Spirit through the throat of a woman. When her sisters sang, their voices shimmered like sunlight through crystal. To hear them was to stand at the edge of creation itself, where light and sound are one. She also wrote Ordo Virtutum, the first morality play ever composed, a drama of the soul tempted by the devil, who cannot sing. In that silence, Hildegard taught a truth deeper than theology. Evil has no music because it has no harmony. Her understanding of creation was vast, yet intimate. She saw God not as a distant monarch, but as the warmth that flows through everything that lives. "The earth," she said, "is at once mother and mirror." To her, all nature was alive with divine energy, what she called viriditas, the greening power. "The soul too must stay green," she wrote, "for dryness is the enemy of light." Her words became a prophecy for all ages, that faith without creativity dies, and knowledge without love corrupts. When she prayed, she did not speak so much as listen. "I hear the voice of the living light," she said, "as if a stream of flame were running through my soul." Her companions testified that at times, her cell glowed faintly, as though the visions had begun to overflow. Once, during a storm that shook the valley, she walked to the cloister door, lifted her arms and said, "Peace, child of God." The wind stilled. Her sisters believed that even the weather obeyed her harmony. In her 80s, her strength waned. She could no longer climb the hill or write without pain. Yet she smiled often, saying, "The closer I am to death, the clearer the music becomes." One evening she gathered her sisters and told them, "When my voice ceases, the song will not end. It will move through you, through the earth, through all who listen." In the last week of her life, she had a vision of a shining woman clothed in gold, crowned with stars. holding a harp of light. Hildegard knew it was wisdom, the companion of the Creator, calling her home. On September 17, 1179, as the sun fell behind the Rhine, the sister saw a beam of light descend over her cell. She opened her eyes, whispered, "O lux vivens," and the music stopped. But in that silence, another sound began, the song of heaven receiving one of its own. Witnesses said 2 streams of light crossed the sky that night, meeting above Rupertsberg like wings. She was 81 years old. The next morning, the valley was covered in mist, yet the air was filled with birdsong. They said creation itself was singing her requiem. Over the centuries, her writings were copied, her chants preserved by nuns who understood that they were not mere notes, but revelations. Her music disappeared for centuries, buried in libraries until the 20th century, when scholars rediscovered it. When the voices sang her melodies again after 800 years, people wept. It was as though the Middle Ages had opened a window into eternity. Hildegard's legacy is not confined to theology or art. It is a vision of the cosmos as harmony, of the human as echo of the divine. Her light was intellectual, mystical, ecological, prophetic. She bridged heaven and earth with sound. In our age of noise, her message returns with urgency. Listen, not with the ears, but with the soul. The film of her life would end with a sweeping aerial view of the Rhine Valley at dawn. The river glows gold, mist curling like breath, and her voice, the archival echo of her chant, fills the air. The camera moves through forests, over monasteries, across cities humming with electricity, as her words rise. All creation is a symphony of the Holy Spirit. The final image is her face illuminated by green and golden light, her eyes reflecting the world she heard singing. The music fades, replaced by silence, the kind that hums with life. Across the screen appear her last words, "I am a feather on the breath of God." And the screen dissolves into white gold light, the light of knowledge, of beauty, of divine harmony.